federal government wants to ban younger kids from social media. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the safety, mental and physical health of Australian children should be paramount.
He's promising the government will enforce a minimum age limit before the next election. It follows South Australia's plan to limit social media to 14-year-olds and over, but the Albanese government's announcement is short on detail. The Prime Minister will join us a little later this hour, but first to our political reporter Tom Lowrey, who's in Parliament House. Tom, good morning. So what do we know so far? What will this ban look like?
Yeah, good morning, Emma. There is still a lot of detail to be ironed out, but the Prime Minister has laid out this ambition of having legislation before the Parliament, if not necessarily passed, before the next election, which is due really by May next year. So he's left himself a fairly short time frame. There are a few key questions we don't know yet. One is the actual age that's going to be put in place here, the actual age limit. It's going to fall, we would think, somewhere between 13 and 16, but no specific age has been laid out just yet. The other is how this is going to be enforced. Now, the government insists that is possible. You can block children from accessing these sites, and there is technical work already underway on investigating just how to do that. There is a bit of a lead being followed here by South Australia, which has been out in front so far on this. A report from the former High Court Justice Robert French was handed down just recently, laying out how South Australia could go about doing this. They're looking at a ban for children aged 13 years and younger, and they're looking at putting the onus on social media companies. Social media companies would have to essentially enforce this ban, and they'd face heavy penalties if young people were accessing their site. Now, the Prime Minister, as he mentioned, will be on the show fairly shortly, but we do have a written statement from him in advance. He said, "Parents are worried sick about this. We know they're working without a map. No generation has faced this challenge before. The safety and mental and physical health of our young people is paramount. Parents want their kids off their phones and on the footy field, so do I." So we know what the Prime Minister wants. We just don't know yet how he's going to do it.
Tom, what's the response been so far then?
We have heard from the opposition on this. They're accusing the government of playing catch-up. This is essentially a bipartisan position at this point, because the opposition themselves have a policy of doing this, banning social media for people aged under 16 in their first 100 days in office, should they win the next election. We heard from the Shadow Communications spokesman David Coleman. He said this has all the hallmarks of a rushed and half-baked announcement. The government has been weak and indecisive on this issue from the start. Now, the ABC has also reached out to the other major players in all of this, that is the social media giants like Meta, TikTok and Snap. They're still processing this news themselves, so we should have more to say from them sometime shortly.
OK, Tom, thank you. OK, let's move on to other news now. And families of veterans say the findings of the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide provide good insight, but there's still more to be done. 122 recommendations have been made in the final report, including the creation of a new body to help troops transition to civilian life and a national register of suicide risk factors.
A road safety researcher says the Northern Territory needs to change its narrative on driver behaviour to reduce fatalities. The NT's road death toll is currently 49 compared to 11 this time last year. A survey by the Australian Road Safety Foundation reveals 41% of drivers who broke the law on country roads claim they did so because they believed it was safe.
The Victorian government plans to start a mobile pill testing trial at music festivals this summer in an attempt to reduce overdose deaths and drug-related hospital admissions. A bill will be introduced to Parliament today to allow the drug checking service to be rolled out across 10 festivals. The state government says the laws will legally protect people who use the service and will work with Victoria Police to ensure festival goers don't feel deterred from having their drugs checked.
South Australian drivers have been warned to take care after a spike in collisions with kangaroos. RAA Insurance says animal collision claims between April and July this year were up 60% on the same time in 2023. Nearly 90% of animals hit on the state's roads are kangaroos. Wildlife rescuers say the extended dry spell is causing kangaroos to come closer to suburbs to look for food.
Rescuers have freed 3 whales caught in fishing lines off the West Australian coast. 2 of the humpback whales were rescued near Fremantle, while a third was released near Geograph Bay after being entangled for days. WA's Conservation Department is urging people not to throw away fishing lines or other rubbish into the ocean.
Okay, let's see what the markets have been up to. The Dow is up, our futures are up as a result. The dollar down slightly, both crude and gold up in value.
Well, we all love Bluey, but it seems Americans love the blue healer and her family even more. The cartoon's executive producer says it has become the most watched show in America so far this year. A staggering 35 billion minutes have been seen by viewers in the States. Oh, they cannot get enough, just like us.